Hey, Commanders Nation, take a deep breath, because what went down on Sunday is going to hit you right in the gut. A key veteran, the first player Adam Peters signed, got carted off the field with a season-ending injury in the most brutal way. And just when you thought we'd already hit rock bottom, Peters is scrambling like crazy on the practice squad, bringing back a wide receiver we already cut. But hold up, the chaos doesn't stop there. This Tuesday, they brought in 5 free agents for tryouts, and one of them is a third-round draft pick who's caught only 3 passes in 5 years. Is that really the best we can do? If you want to know who got hurt, what desperate moves the front office is making, and why we're testing out guys nobody else wants, stick around till the end, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss a second. This is about to blow up. Commanders fans, brace yourselves. This one hurts. Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings, third quarter, we saw one of those plays that makes you close your eyes and hope it's not what it looks like. Zack Ertz, our veteran tight end, the very first signing Adam Peters made in the 2024 offseason, stretched out for a catch and took a direct hit to his right knee from Viking safety Jay Ward. It was ugly. Ertz hit the turf, and everyone at FedEx Field knew something bad, really bad had just happened. And here's the gut punch. After the game, Dan Quinn confirmed what none of us wanted to hear: torn ACL season over. A 13-year NFL vet, a guy with 825 catches, 8,527 yards, and 57 touchdowns in his career, is done just like that in a season that was already a complete mess. But let me put this in perspective, because this is where it gets real. Ertz wasn't just another name on the roster. Heading into Week 14, the guy had nearly 500 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns in this dumpster fire of a season. Back in 2024, when there was still a sliver of hope, Ertz led the Commanders in receiving touchdowns with 7 and was second in receiving yards with 654, right behind Terry McLaurin. His 66 catches that year were clutch for moving the chains. Remember why Adam Peters made him his first signing in 2024? I'll tell you. Dan Quinn nailed it when he talked about Ertz's elite habits. Quinn literally said Ertz impressed the staff by doing the right things over and over again, never getting bored of the basics. That's leadership. That's professionalism. That's exactly what this young team needed. And now we've got an offense already shredded by injuries, losing its veteran anchor at tight end. Let's not forget the full disaster here. Jaden Daniels, our future QB, has missed 6 games this season with multiple injuries. In that same game against Minnesota, Daniels landed hard on his left elbow after a pick, the same elbow he dislocated in Week 9 against Seattle. Austin Eckler tore his Achilles in Week 2. Terry McLaurin missed 7 games with a quad injury. See the pattern? This offense has never been whole all season. And just when you think it can't get worse, we lose the guy who was holding it altogether. Ertz was Daniel's safety blanket, the vet who knew how to find soft spots in the zone, the reliable blocker in the run game. Now, here's the part that's been keeping me up at night. Ertz is on a 1-year deal. His future in Washington? Totally up in the air. At 35, coming off an ACL tear, will he even want to come back? Would you want to return to a team that's been a walking EL for 2 straight seasons? And will Adam Peters want to bring back a 36-year-old tight end coming off major knee surgery? I think this injury doesn't just end Ertz's season. It probably ends his time with the Commanders. And that's a massive blow, because this team desperately needed his leadership, his experience, his locker room presence. Dan Quinn himself said Ertz's production was significant. That's coach speak, for we're screwed without him. Think about this. The Philadelphia Eagles won Super Bowl 52 with Ertz as a key piece. The guy knows what it takes to win in this league. He knows how to prep, how to study film, how to be a pro every single day. And now the Commanders lose all of that when they needed it most. Do you think this injury is just bad luck? Or is there something deeper going on with how this team handles player health and conditioning? Because when your injury report looks Like a hospital chart. At some point, you've got to start asking hard questions about the medical staff, the training protocols about the whole operation. So, let me ask you this. How many more injuries can this franchise take before someone in the building admits there's a systemic problem? How many more key players do we have to lose before real changes are made? And the hardest truth of all, Ertz deserved better. He deserved to finish his career chasing a playoff spot, not getting carted off in a 3-10 loss season. The man came to Washington to help build something, to be part of the solution, and instead, he leaves with another knee surgery and an uncertain future. If that shocks you, wait till you hear this, because the moves Adam Peters is making right now show just how desperate things have gotten on the practice squad. Just when you thought we were done with roster moves, here comes another one that shows exactly how Adam Peters is operating under pressure. The Washington Commanders have re-signed wide receiver Chris Moore to the practice squad, releasing River. Crack to make room. And I'm telling you right now, this move isn't random. It's a clear sign that the organization is in full-on survival mode. Let's talk about Chris Moore for a second, because his NFL journey is the definition of grind. The guy's 32, drafted in the 4th round by the Baltimore Ravens. Back in 2016, played out his rookie deal for $2,936,000. And since then, he's bounced all over the league. Ravens, Texans, Titans, Cardinals, and now back with the Commanders. And here's the thing, Moore's not some rookie trying to find his footing. He's a vet who knows how to survive in this business. In 2025, he's played in 11 games for the Commanders, catching 10 passes on 22 targets for 192 yards and a touchdown. Not Pro Bowl numbers, but definitely not useless either. So why bring him back now? Let me connect the dots. We just lost Zach Ertz for the season. Terry McLaurin's been banged up all year. Jaden Daniels is playing with an elbow that looks like it could fall off any second. This offense is desperate for anyone who can catch a ball and knows the playbook. Moore fits that bill. He's been here, knows the system, knows what Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury expect. No learning curve, no adjustment period. You plug him in and he gets to work. In a season where everything's gone sideways, that kind of familiarity is gold. But here's what's got me thinking. They cut River Crackraft to make room. Crackraft's also a vet, also knows the system. So what did Peter see in Moore that he didn't see in Crackraft? Is it production? Chemistry with Daniels? Or does Moore just have more upside at this point? I think this move is Peters telling everyone, I'm squeezing every drop of production I can out of this roster. I don't care how many moves it takes. And honestly, can you blame him? With a 3-10 record and an 8-game losing streak, Peters is in full evaluation mode. He's watching to see who can play, who wants to be here, who can contribute when everything's falling apart. Moore's proven he can do that. He's lasted 9 seasons in this league because he knows how to make himself valuable. He can play special teams, be your 4th or 5th receiver, do the dirty work that doesn't show up on highlight reels, but wins games. Let me put this in context with the rest of the NFC East. The Cowboys are dealing with their own injury issues, but at least they've got stability at key spots. The Eagles are dominating the division with a deep roster that can absorb injuries. The Giants are in full rebuild mode, but at least they've got a clear plan. And us? We're making practice squad moves in December, just trying to find warm bodies to finish the season. Not exactly the picture of a franchise on the rise, right? But here's the thing, Moore isn't the problem. In fact, he's part of the short-term solution. The problem is that we need to make these moves in the first place. The problem is that our depth chart is so wrecked that a 32-year-old journeyman is considered a necessary upgrade. Do you think this is the kind of move a team makes when it believes in its roster-building process? Or is it the kind of move a team makes when it's desperate to find anything that works? Now, let me ask you this. How many more practice squad moves are we going to see before this season ends? And what does that say about the depth Adam Peters inherited and was supposed to be improving? Because let's be real when you're re-signing a guy you already cut earlier in the season. That's not exactly a vote of confidence in your scouting and development process. That's either admitting you got it wrong the first time, or worse, that your options are so limited you're going back to what you already know. But that's nothing compared to what's coming, because Adam Peters is holding tryouts like it's Hollywood casting, and what he's looking for says everything about this team's immediate future. And if you thought that was it, think again, because on Tuesday, the Washington Commanders brought in 5 free agents for tryouts ahead of Week 15, and the full list shows exactly which positions are in full-blown panic mode out in Ashburn. We're talking about Colin Granger, Kean Isaac, Dalton Keene, G. Scott, and Kevin Seymour. And let me tell you, when you're bringing in 5 guys on a Tuesday, it's not because you're planning for next season. It's because you need bodies right now. Let's zero in on the most interesting name on that list, Dalton Keene. Why? Because Keene is the perfect example of how the NFL chews up and spits out draft picks who don't live up to expectations, but still have just enough talent to keep getting looks. Keene is 26 years old and was drafted by the New England Patriots with pick number 101 in the 3rd round of the 2020 draft out of Virginia Tech. The Patriots even traded up to get him, which tells you they really believed in his upside. He signed a 4-year rookie deal worth $4,057,645, including an $832,294 signing bonus dot. So what happened? The Patriots cut him in 2022. Since then, Keene's bounced around Eagles, Broncos, and most recently the Houston Texans. The Texans brought him back in 2023. Re-signed him to a futures deal last year, then put him on injured reserve. Eventually, they released him with an injury settlement after preseason, and he's been floating around practice squads ever since. His NFL production? Minimal. In 2020, he played in 6 games and caught 3 passes for 16 yards. That's it. 3 catches in his entire NFL career. And yet, here he is 5 years later still getting tryouts. Why? Because physical talent doesn't just vanish. Keene was a 3rd-round pick for a reason. Scouts saw something in him coming out of Virginia Tech that made him worth significant draft capital. And in a league where quality tight ends are gold, teams like the Commanders are willing to take a look at anyone with draft, pedigree, and physical tools. Now, here's the context that makes this tryout so telling. We just lost Zack Ertz for the season with a torn ACL. Our tight end depth chart just imploded. So Adam Peters is literally trying out 3 tight ends in this session: Granger, Keene, and Scott. That's not a coincidence. That's a desperate need. Let me tie this back to the rest of the NFC East, because the contrast is brutal. The Eagles have Dallas Goedert, one of the best tight ends in the league, backed by solid depth. The Cowboys have Jake Ferguson developing nicely. The Giants have Darren Waller when he's healthy. And us? We're trying out a guy who's caught 3 passes in 5 years. That's where we are. That's how desperate the tight end situation is. Now, let's talk about the other names on this tryout list. Kean Isaac and Kevin Seymour are defensive backs, which tells you the secondary is also in need of reinforcements. Colin Granger and G. Scott are the other tight ends, confirming that Peters is casting a wide net trying to find anyone who can contribute. I think these tryouts are a quiet admission that the roster is in worse shape than anyone wants to admit publicly. When you're in December trying out free agents who've been bouncing around practice squads all year, you're not building for the future. You're just trying to survive the final stretch of the season without the whole roster falling apart. And you know what's most frustrating about all this? These moves were completely predictable. When you had the number of injuries we've had, when your depth chart is this wrecked, of course you're going to need emergency signings. But the fact that we're here, doing this now, speaks to a bigger failure in how this roster was built from the start. Adam Peters came in with a reputation as an elite roster builder, someone who learned from the best in San Francisco. And what do we have? A 3-10 team holding open tryouts in December like it's an NFL garage sale. Now, to be fair to Peters, he inherited a mess. The roster left behind by the previous regime was a disaster. But at some point, you've got to start owning your own decisions. And the decision not to have better depth at critical positions like tight end is biting this team hard right now. Do you think any of these 5 free agents will actually sign to the active roster? Or is this just Peters doing his due diligence, exploring practice squad options? Because let's be honest, if Dalton Keene were really the answer, someone would have signed him permanently a long time ago. So now I ask you, are these tryouts a sign of a GM being proactive and exploring every option? Or are they a sign of a team in full panic mode, trying to slap Band-Aids on wounds that need major surgery? And here's the really wild part. These tryouts are happening while we still have 4 games left this season. 4 games that mean nothing for the playoffs, but mean everything for player evaluation and development. Shouldn't those snaps be going to young guys already on the roster? Shouldn't we be giving our recent draft picks a shot to show what they've got? Instead, we're trying out journeyman vets who probably won't even be here next year. What's the point of that? What are we actually building? I'll tell you this. These moves show a team stuck between 2 worlds. We're not tanking hard enough to lock in the number 1 pick, but we're also not developing young talent effectively. We're in this weird limbo, making moves that don't fit any long-term strategy. And that, Commanders fans, is the most frustrating part. It's not just that we're losing. It's that we're losing without a clear plan to get out of this. We're reacting instead of building. We're putting out fires instead of laying a foundation. If this gave you a new perspective on what's happening in Ashbourne, check the pinned playlist for full season breakdowns. Comment below what shocked you most today. Like and subscribe now.